My dad removed me from the deed and sold my house, claiming I shouldn't own property at my age while I was on a trip. With the money, I let him enjoy his last bit of freedom before getting arrested. I bought my house when I was 26. It wasn't anything special, just a small 3-bedroom place on the edge of town. I worked 2 jobs for years, skipped vacations, drove the same beat-up Honda long after everyone else upgraded, and saved every extra dollar I could. After years of grinding, I finally put down $62,000 and bought the house for $248,000. My dad, Greg, loved telling people about it. "That's my girl," he'd say whenever neighbors asked about the house. But when nobody else was around, he'd remind me that I was still too young to understand money. That was pretty much our relationship. My younger brother, Tyler, was the favorite. He bounced from job to job, borrowed money constantly, and somehow always had an excuse for everything. Dad covered for him every single time. Meanwhile, every decision I made came with a lecture. When Mom died, things got worse. Dad started involving himself in everyone's finances. He wanted to know what people earned, what they spent, and how much they had in savings. A year after I bought the house, he convinced me to add him to the deed. "If something happens to you, probate becomes a nightmare," he said. He brought it up for months, at family dinners, over phone calls, every chance he got. Eventually, I gave in. Nothing changed for years. At least, that's what I thought. Then my company sent me to Seattle for 3 weeks. Halfway through the trip, my neighbor Jessica called. "Why are strangers walking through your house?" she asked. I laughed. "What are you talking about? There are realtors there. People are touring it." I stopped walking. A minute later, she sent photos. My living room, my kitchen, my backyard, random people standing inside my house. I called Dad immediately. No answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. Then I called the realtor, whose sign was sitting in my front yard. The conversation lasted less than 2 minutes before my stomach dropped. My house had already sold. The sale had closed 3 days earlier for $387,000. I sat outside my hotel staring at traffic for almost an hour. The realtor explained that all the paperwork appeared valid. My father's name was on the deed. Mine wasn't. Somehow I had been removed months earlier. I flew home the next morning. Dad wasn't hiding. He was sitting on his porch drinking coffee when I arrived. "What did you do?" I asked. He barely looked surprised. "I handled it. You sold my house." "It wasn't really your house." I honestly thought I had misheard him. Then he took another sip of coffee and said something even worse. "You shouldn't own property at your age." I was 29 years old. The conversation only got uglier from there. Eventually, he admitted where the money went. About $41,000 paid off Tyler's debts. Another $28,000 bought him a brand new truck. Around $73,000 went into one of Tyler's business ideas that failed within months. Dad acted like all of this was completely normal. According to him, he was protecting family assets. I left before I said something I'd regret. The next several weeks were filled with attorneys, title records, bank documents, and investigations. The deeper everyone dug, the worse it got. The signature removing me from ownership wasn't mine. The notary records had problems. Several documents contained information that didn't match official records. What started as a property dispute quickly became something much bigger. My lawyer told me to stay patient, so I did. Dad, meanwhile, seemed completely relaxed. He bought a boat, started taking weekend trips. Tyler acted like he'd won the lottery. Neither of them thought there would be consequences. I never argued, never threatened them, never warned them. I simply provided every document investigators requested. Months passed, and one morning I received a call. Criminal charges had officially been filed. Forgery, fraud, multiple financial crimes connected to the transfer and sale of the property. The evidence had become impossible to ignore. Dad still didn't know a warrant had been issued. That same afternoon he called me. He was excited about an upcoming fishing trip, laughing, making plans, talking as if nothing had happened, as if he hadn't sold my home out from under me. I listened quietly, then wished him a good weekend. He spent the next 2 days posting photos online. Boat, beer, lake, big smile. Tyler appeared in most of the pictures. Monday morning arrived. Around 8:30, investigators knocked on Dad's front door. The same neighbor who had warned me about the realtors called again. This time she sounded stunned. They took him away in handcuffs. I thanked her and hung up. The sale was eventually reversed through the courts. Ownership of the house returned to me. Tyler disappeared once the money ran out. Dad accepted a plea deal. A few months later, I drove past the lake where he'd spent that last carefree weekend. The boat was gone. The truck was gone. The $387,000 he thought he controlled was gone too. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. 3 words. "Can we talk?" I looked at the screen for a moment, then locked my phone and kept driving.